Thanks for joining us. It opened its doors for service 150 years ago, and it's nearly just as old as Hong Kong itself. Today, it's a place of sanctuary, remembering the dead and celebrating the living. St. John's Cathedral has become more than just an Anglican church. It's also become a symbol of Hong Kong's history and tradition, seeing it through World Wars, 1997, and now Hong Kong's economic problems. We report why this cathedral has a special place in people's hearts and history books.
We've been in Hong Kong. I've been in Hong Kong for nearly 20 years and Peter for about the same. And we wanted somewhere that was sort of Hong Kong through and through, and we had people coming from all over the world. So we wanted somewhere that represented the history of Hong Kong.
Peter, will you take Richard to be your husband? Will you love him, comfort him, honor and protect him, and forsaking all others, be faithful to him as long as you both shall live?
Last week, Richard and Peter exchanged their vows and joined the countless number of couples who've tied the knot here. Was the registry office an option?
No, it really wasn't. I wanted to get married in a church. I wanted the traditional white wedding, and St. John's was, to me, really the only place that I could get married in Hong Kong. It sort of signified Hong Kong to me, the history and tradition.
That to us was very important. We didn't want to really get married in somewhere that had been there for 20 years.
I think a lot of people come to get married here because it's an extremely beautiful building. When it comes to the photographs afterwards, this is the kind of place they want as the backdrop. We'll often get couples actually coming from Cotton Tree Drive who get married there, and they'll just stand outside and have their photographs taken here, which I think is quite nice in a way.
Whether you're planning for your big day or just looking for a picture-perfect spot, you probably would be hard-pressed to find somewhere as time-honored as here.
It's also the second oldest surviving colonial building in Hong Kong after the Flagstaff House, which was built a few years earlier.
David Leung is a professor of architecture at Hong Kong University. He's also the chairman of the Antiquities Advisory Board. He explains why St. John's Cathedral was officially classified as an historical landmark prior to the handover.
Well, it's obviously ranked number one, ranked very top. This is not just simply a church building that is surviving from the last century. It is also has a thick history of the place. And of course, I mean, from the last century, there were several church buildings, like the Baptist Church, like the Roman Catholic Church. They're all on Wellington Street. Also the China Congregational Church where Dr. Sun Yat-sen baptized, but they're all gone. We have to do something about protecting the building and also, of course, protecting not only the building alone, but the history.
It all started in a mat shed where prayer service for officers and officials of the British Empire took place. But on Sunday, March 11, 1849, exactly 2 years after its foundation stones were laid by Hong Kong's first governor, Sir John Davis, St. John's Cathedral opened its doors for service.
It cost something like around £8,700 in 1843-46. And it was considered very expensive in those days because a church of this style in other British colonies would cost about £3,000. And had it been built again today, can you imagine what £9,000 it cost 150 years ago would have cost today? I would imagine in the area of over 100 millions. I mean, because of the detail of the workmanship, of the craftsmanship inside is beautiful. It's absolutely stunning.
In fact, because of costs, the original design was modified. The intended Gothic revival construction became the more plain Norman-style building that suited the local craftsmanship at the time. Cost became just one issue.
This caused an immense row when the cathedral was opened, because you see the red hand on there? Yeah. That is a badge of a baronet. Sir John Davis was a baronet, but it is also the badge of Ulster. It's the bloody hand of Ulster, and people didn't want a red hand, a bloody hand on the church.
Seating also sparked controversy. With room for 640 persons, an ordinance in 1847 stated that 1/3 of the seats was to be reserved